I would think for Celgene holders, it's obviously a real positive today. Do you like the prospects for the combination of which Celgene holders will own 31%?
So I think certainly from Celgene's perspective and Celgene shareholder perspective, what you're really doing is diluting the primary risk that people have, and that is what the longevity of the Revlimid franchise is. There's a lot of patent issues there that are outstanding, and even though this is half cash, half shares, the Celgene shareholders do get the benefit of Bristol's franchises, and personally I would rather have exposure to Opdivo and Eliquis on Bristol's, and then kind of a pure play on Revlimid, given the risks there. So I think it's a fantastic transaction for Celgene shareholders in that respect. Is it a fantastic company combined? I don't see this as really a deal that is driven by enthusiasm, excitement on either end. I think it's really two mature companies with consolidation benefits. I mean, they have a lot of overlap in terms of their R&D and sales force. I would expect a lot of that to get eliminated, and I think that's what's really driving the deal here. Neither company has some really fantastic new asset driving the deal. So I don't think the new company is going to be anything fantastic. It'll be like a Pfizer-like company, but from Celgene shareholder perspective, no question, there's a fantastic day to kick off the year for them.
Yeah. All right. Geoffrey, give me your take. Particularly, I know you don't necessarily cover Bristol, but what is that decline in that stock saying this morning about investors' views of the prospects of the overall transaction?
Well, the big risk that Brian pointed out, of course, is the Revlimid patent and the erosion of what will ultimately be $15 or $16 billion in revenue by the early 2020s. And it wasn't directly stated on the call this morning, but many people asked about what was it that got Bristol so excited. And I think they think that in the 4 or 5 late-stage pipeline programs that Celgene has brought to the table, they can offset that erosion. I think many people are skeptical about that. That was why Celgene stock was trading at 6.5 times forward earnings, the lowest of any company in biopharma. And Bristol has, in some ways, taken on the yoke that Celgene's management had previously of trying to prove that they can do that. And that's not really a small undertaking. $15 billion is not lying around. And proving that they can bring those products to market, successfully commercialize them, and offset that revenue will now be Bristol's challenge for the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, one component of this deal is this contingent value right that could be worth as much as $9. Brian, what do you actually value it at, given it would require them to actually hit approvals over the next, I think, 3 years for 3 drugs?
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of peg it in the $5 to $6 range after adjusting for probabilities of approval and NPV. It's not going to get paid out for a couple of years if it does get paid out. We do think all 3 of these assets are high probability assets to gain FDA approval. We don't think there's a ton of risk there, although there's a reasonable argument around ozanimod, which has already had a trip up at regulatory. But we do think on the surface the clinical value of these do justify approval. So we think they're relatively high probability events. How they perform commercially, as Jeff alluded to, I think that's a little bit more of the concern is this $15 billion number that they're putting up, is that realistic at all, or is this kind of a pipe dream put up there to justify the deal?
Geoffrey, it's Sarah. It really kicks off 2019 with a bang in terms of M&A activity for pharma. Is this the beginning, the middle, or the end of some sort of biotech consolidation cycle?
It sure does kick it off with a bang. Look, folks like Brian and I have been talking about this, suggesting that it was going to happen, in fact was necessary for 2 or 3 years now. And you can't help but think that since the customers of the biopharmaceutical industry have consolidated, we've seen the massive deals between the PBMs and the insurers, creating really 3 or 4 dominant customers for pharmaceutical products in the United States now, certainly by the beginning of 2019, that the industry has to respond in some way as well. And one of the things that came through on the conference call today was the benefits of scale, that the combined Bristol and Celgene portfolios would be better able to negotiate with those PBMs and payers, would be able to get in the door and see physicians would have a presence in the hospitals that they might not quite have with their individual products. Now, I don't know whether that's totally true, but this is a theme that we're hearing from many of the companies of the industry, that in the current environment, scale has its advantages. And if that theme persists throughout the year, and if this combined company starts to win positions in contracts, then everybody else is going to think they need that scale as well in order not to be excluded from those contracts. And then we might see that wave of consolidation. Now, I think it's going to take several months. I don't think people should rush out today and buy stocks thinking that there'll be another deal announced next week or the week after. But certainly, because this deal's been in the incubation for months, probably for 6 months at least, and these companies may be talking for longer than that. But I do think by the time you get to the middle to the second half of this 2019, if this deal is successful and the company is commercially effective, then people are going to start looking for more such mega deals to take advantage of that scale.